Okay, how is this for audio?
Analytics best practices, which was there in the market in May though. My name is Amanpreet Kaur, and I work at DBP Institute as business analyst, and I'm a 2020 MBA graduate from Haskins School of Business, University of Calgary, and I'll be your host for the event tonight. As safety comes first, please wear your mask at all times except while eating or drinking, and follow other COVID safety guidelines. As you might know, Prashanth has decided to contribute the royalties of his book, and his wife Shruti has decided to uh, contribute the fee collected from his body fitness class to brown bagging for Calgary's kids. The total amount is to be around $3,000. It is a non-profit organization that works with Calgary schools and delivers free healthy lunches for students who would otherwise go hungry. Today, Tanya Koszorski, Executive Director from this institute, is here with us tonight. Thank you, Tanya. Also, this event is sponsored by SAS, Modak Analytics, AMI, Incept Data Solutions, Girha Software Technologies, and Riverside Technologies. SAS, Modak, and Grihasoft are partners of DBP Institute. Thanks to Aarti Joshi and Milind, Michael and Upain from Riverside, Madhuresha from Grihasoft, Saurabh Arora from Incept Data Solutions, Derek from AMI, and Sandra and Dean from SAS for their help and support. Today, many amazing data analytics thought leaders will be joining us virtually to share their thoughts. Let me take an opportunity to introduce them quickly. Our first speaker will be Mario Faria. He is the VP Program Director Research Board at Gartner, who will be speaking from Florida. Second speaker would be Bruno Faria from VP of Data Analytics at Google, joining from Silicon Valley. The third speaker will be Bahar Vercruz, VP of Data Analytics and Monetization of ZF Group from Michigan. Our fourth speaker will be Suresh Chakravarti, who is the advisor at DBP Institute and former CIO at BNY Mellon, New York and Dallas. So let me introduce the first speaker for the evening, Mario Faria. He's the VP Program Director Research Board at Gartner, responsible for Data and Analytics Board, for CDOs and data and analytics leaders to lead and support digital transformation for the largest countries in the world. During his 29 years of experience, Mr. Faria worked in many consulting and advisory firms, helping with projects related to data science, analytics, and digital strategies. He worked at Accenture, IBM, and Microsoft in the verticals of financial services, retail, e-commerce, digital marketing, and operations. According to MIT, he is one of the first chief data analytics officers in the world and first in Latin America. One interesting trivia of Maria is that he has both books of Prashanth. And now I'll allow Mario to speak on stage.
Thank you, Chita. Is Prashanth coming there? Is that Prashanth?
Yes, it's Prashanth.
All right. Okay. So, Chita, is my voice coming up there so everybody can hear me?
Chetan, is Mario's voice clear there?
I should never volunteer to be the first one, right?
If it helps any Mario, I can hear you, but I'm not there.
Much better. Much better.
Sorry, it's hybrid presentation.
Mario, just wait for 1 minute, Mario. Being the first speaker, you have to bear the brunt of all the technological challenges.
Okay, that's okay.
Mario, do you want to say a few words, just hello or something?
Hello, can you hear me? Is it coming or not?
Just 1 sec.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pawana, can you unmute
Yeah.
yourself?
Yes. Can you hear?
No.
You can hear me?
Pawana, can you
Yeah.
speak?
No. Now I'm speaking. Yeah.
No.
Can you hear me? No.
Can you join once more?
A bit while we did the testing and it worked fine. So now, are you able to hear me, Prashant? Are you able to hear me, Prashant?
Can you try it?
Pawana?
Yes. Are you able to hear me, Prashant? No.
That doesn't make any difference. I'm not sure what's happening.
Click share.
What should?
Click share, which was-
Why didn't you try the phone? Yeah, we just changed that.
Pawana?
Yes, Prashant. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? No?
Yeah, the stickers again.
Sorry for the delay.
Can you say something, Pawana?
Yes. Yes, Chetan. Is my audio clear?
It's not coming.
Is it
Oh, no.
loud?
Yeah, can you
Yes,
hear me
Prashant.
now?
Yeah. Okay. Can you increase the volume further?
Is my audio clear?
Okay. So, Mario, I think you're good.
Am I good? Can you hear me now, Prashant?
Sorry, Mario, it's still low. Yeah, it's still low. We are hearing something, but it is very low.
Now let's see how I change the volume of the microphone.
I wonder if the problem is on their side because you're coming out pretty clear on my end here.
How about now? Is it better?
You're clear on the Zoom.
I put in the max for my microphone. Hello?
So Prashant, is Maria's voice louder now?
Yeah.
It echoes. We already tested it. So it
Tried
echoes.
that, and it was working before, but now it's very low volume.
It's, Mario is very low.
Yeah, let him start talking, and we'll see maybe when everybody's.
Okay. So Mario, you can go ahead. It's a bit low here, but
Can you increase the volume on your side, on the output? Hello?
Hello, Prashant.
okay. Mario, can you try?
Yeah, how about now? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's good. Go ahead.
Good now? Okay, good. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. So in 2016, I was minding my own business, working, and then I received a LinkedIn message from this guy that I've never talked to him, never know who was, and saying some things that let's see if he will disappear because I'm not interested whatever he is talking about. So I just delete the message, never bothered that. But then this guy, a few weeks after, came back again, very nice, and kind of told me something that I got intrigued. Say, hey, Mario, my name is Prashant, and I'm trying to put a book together. I've seen lots of your work, and I would like your interview for the work that I'm doing. Say, okay, let's see how it goes. So we start exchanging emails, not LinkedIn anymore, by email, and I really like the way that Prashant was able to structure his thoughts and how nice he was since on the first moment that we discussed. I say, I like the value proposition, so I agree. Okay, so let's have a call. So we exchange enough emails for us to have a call. So we start talking. I provide Prashant some information, my point of view, and I was so grateful that a few months after, 2019, he released his first book, and I mentioned me on the cover of the book. I was like so grateful for that. And I really enjoyed that book. I think it was really, really, really nice. And we became friends, although we've never met in person. We became friends and we talked to each other. We always discussed something quite relevant. And the beginning of the year, Prashant told me that he was writing another book and he would like my help as well. So I said, okay, so you did such a great job that I'm honored to help you with your second book. And I'm not on the cover of the book, which is good. Hey, you know a lot of other smarter people than I am to be on the cover of the book, and that's perfect, fine. And on this book that I really enjoyed as well, Prashant helped me to spread how the role of the chief data officer has been evolving. And we are passing through this inflection point of the role of the data and analytics leader. Unfortunately, there are a lot of failures in the market for data and analytics projects. With the research that we had access, we learned that between 60 to 80% of all data and analytics projects in the world fail in terms of achieving the expected results, or for going over budget, for not delivering the results that the users expect. Okay, so when we saw that number, we became quite intrigued, and we start to looking for people, for looking at how successful CDOs, chief data officers, and other data analytics leaders were being successful in what they did. And we found out a pattern. They were using product management discipline. So when we found that common pattern among successful CDOs, we say, hey, we have something here. Maybe this is how the role of the data and analytics leader, how the role of the chief data officer will evolve moving forward. And we branded that the Chief Data Officer 4.0. You might say, okay, why 4.0? Well, because the first time the Chief Data Officers came into market, they were just responsible for data governance, data quality, compliance, and risk. And that was the Chief Data Officer 1.0. And the first Chief Data Officer came to market in 2002 by a lady who was appointed at Capital One. So around 2009-10, we start to see Chief Data Officers also being responsible for analytics as well. And that was the second version of the Chief Data Officer, not just working on the defensive side of the business, but also embracing analytics as well. And by 2014-15, we start to see some Chief Data Officers and other analytics leaders being responsible for digital transformation. And that we named the Chief Data Officer 3.0. And last year, when we saw that pattern for successful Chief Data Officers embracing product management and driving data monetization and being responsible for PML, we branded that the Chief Data Officer 4.0. And I'm so grateful that Prashanth was able to reference that in his latest book. Okay. So you're not going to buy the book or read the book just because Chief Data Officer 4.0. There are a lot of amazing points out there that will help you to overcome the challenges as a data and analytics leader. Okay, so you did a great job, Prashanth. I'm so happy to be here to celebrate with you and your colleagues this book. You did such a wonderful presentation at the MIT conference a month ago, to tell to the world what's happening in the world of data analytics and to bring best practices for everybody to succeed. Okay, so thank you for being part of your journey, for being part of your success, and count on my help again when you decided to write your third book. Okay, I know that's a lot of work. I know that's an extreme stressful process and a lot of burden for you and your family, but you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Anybody want to have a comment or any questions?
Thank you, Mario, for the great insights. Our next speaker for tonight is Bruno Aziza, who is the head of Data and Analytics Google Cloud at Google. He provides view on leadership performance on the success factor Thought Leader Network, the CIO Network, and Forbes magazine. Mr. Aziza is the host of Biz Intelligence TV, a leading weekly show on business intelligence and analytics. He's the co-author of the best-selling book, Drive Business Performance, Enabling a Culture of Intelligent Execution. During his journey, Mr. Aziza has held management positions at Apple, SAP Business Objects, AppStream, Decathlon, and Microsoft, providing go-to-market strategies and execution for partners. Thank you, Bruno, for your time. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Hopefully you can hear me well. I'm going to trust that if you don't, you will let me know. Today I wanted to just take the opportunity to talk about a few themes as it relates to the book. Thank you for the great introduction. I'm very humbled and honored to be part of this launch. Very similar to Mario, actually. I've actually never met Prashanth in person. We've connected online on many topics, and we share research together, and so we communicate quite regularly on the topic of data, AI, and analytics, and he got my attention many times. So today what I want to do is talk about a few themes along the way, and as you heard in the intro, I've had the opportunity as well authoring a couple of books, and for everyone in the audience, I think it's important to remember what a book actually is. We kind of tend to take it for granted, but 12 years ago now, when I wrote my first book, I hadn't realized that it was such a tough task. Because you think about a book as you're trying to basically condense years of learning into 300 pages, 500 pages, how many pages your editor will allow you to write about the topic. For me, it was sleepless nights. It was the review process with my publisher. It was the critique and the feedback even before the book goes out. And then, of course, the anxiety when the book is finally published and you get to hold it physically. And also you wonder if people out in the world are actually going to appreciate for what it is, and if they're even going to like the message, and if the message is going to be helpful. So I want to congratulate you, Prashanth, for doing that. I know it's just a second book, so it's very courageous to take that as a second step. But it's also, I think, it's important for the audience to know what you're dealing with here, right? Writing a book, at least my first book, took me 9 months. It's kind of for me, it was like having a child in a way. Also, the other piece here is most of us that write books on this topic, we don't do it for the money. It's only the stars that get a lot of money out of the book. So consider that when you read it. If it's not for money, if it's not because of fame, it's because the author poured their life into it. And in Prashanth's case, I'm even more impressed by the fact that the money he's made already on the book, he's already donated to charity. So I want to thank you for doing that for the community, not just the work, but how you're approaching it. Also, when you think about a book, you got to think about, how do I connect with the author on the big idea behind the book? So I know some of you are in the room, some of you are connected with Prashanth online. I really want to invite you to reach out to the author and ask them, what was the motivation? What are they trying to communicate to you? For us, when we wrote the Drive Business Performance, we had identified working with all these amazing organizations. There were 6 stages to driving to what we call a culture of performance. And so that was our big idea. But it wasn't important in the sense that we had this thought and we were able to simplify it for the rest of the industry. And what was amazing is when people are coming back to us and telling us, I've taken your test, and out of the 6 stages, I'm at stage 2 or I'm at stage 3, and I'm struggling with that. So think about that as you're reading Prashanth's book. What's the best practice you like the most? What's the one that has the biggest impact? Because that really is the only currency really that we have as authors, is hearing from the community and getting confirmation that the work that we've done alone in front of a blank page is actually impacting your life and helping you become better at what you want to become. So that's on the book itself, not just the themes in it, but how to interact both with the author and the content. The book is the beginning of conversation with the community. That's how, at least, I wrote my books, and I know that's how Prashanth put his heart and soul into the book. Now I want to move into the industry. Mario actually is also someone I follow a lot. I comment on his work because his content is very meaningful in helping many of us succeed in the data analytics world. I mean, you got to realize, after working in this space for over 30 years, we're actually really in the infancy of analytics. In his MIT piece, Prashanth pointed to Gartner research saying that 80% of the analytics today are descriptive. And if you look at the model, I think Mario even has 8 verbs he uses: describe, diagnose, explain, investigate, predict, prescribe, automate, and learn. These are kind of the 8 verbs that a company goes through. But if you were to ask, where are the majority of companies today across these verbs? Well, they're kind of midway between describe and diagnose. So that tells you After so many years that we've been talking about business intelligence, managing data responsibly, making sure information is available to everyone, we're still struggling to make sure that these insights are getting somewhere, are helping an organization gain value. So when you read the book, and you see that the name is best practices, realize that you have a active role in creating those best practices. In fact, I would call them next practices. We have best practices of things that have gotten us this far, but it is possible that with the fact that we have more data than ever, with the fact that we have access to more processing power than ever, with the fact that now more people expect their organizations to provide them with analytics, the fact that there are more and more employees who are coming into the workforce and who are data savvy, if you will. With that opportunity, it's very possible that whatever got us here is not going to get us there. And so you have a role while you're reading Prashanth's book to create your own practices, your best practices, and hopefully the next practices that are going to get us to breaking through the issues of today. Only 20% of insights are delivering business outcomes. Only 20%, if you just take a pause and think about that, that really is kind of a scary thought, because you would probably not get on the plane today if I told you that 20% chance of landing, right? So think about the amount of dollars and euros and any currency that's spent on IT projects to make sure we use data to make better decisions. We're really not there. In fact, Accenture even found that 68% of companies cannot point to tangible value that they're driving out of data. So while we might look at it and say it's a crisis and we failed, it's actually an opportunity. So you can use work like Prashanth's put in front of you to get us to the next level. In order to take advantage to this opportunity, I want to highlight for you 5 best practices. And if you followed me online, you know that every Monday morning I publish my top 5 data, AI, and analytics posts of the week. It's the research that I read throughout the week that you tell me is important to you, and I try to kind of amplify. And so for this talk today, I look back at the last 20 years of best practices that I came across, and I wanted to share them with you over the next few minutes. So it leaves a few key messages as you read the book here. The first best practice is actually an acronym. It's the acronym RAT. It spells RAT. What is RAT? RAT stands for relevant, actionable, and timely. These are the attributes, if you will, of data that's going to be valuable to your company. Is the data relevant to the organization, the individual consuming this information? It is timely. Is it timely that you can actually act on it in time to course correct or change the future or the trajectory of your company, your organization, your group, your team? And then, is it actionable? So relevant, actionable, and timely. Remember that RAT is a great way to audit when data is coming your way and you want to know if anybody's going to do anything with it. The second component I want to talk about is the idea of automation. In the era of AI, everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, everything's going to be automated. The simple way that I've found companies kind of identify how they're going to automate is to think about the relationship we have as humans with the data. And there are 3 types of relationships. There is this relationship we're having right now, which is collaboration, humans talking to humans. And it's really difficult to automate that because so much of it is a creative process, so much of it is a reaction to things that we don't expect, and so much is co-created between humans. And so that's one, collaboration. The second is pure automation, if you will. It's the extreme of this, where 2 machines in a very binary function are repeating certain tasks that really are not effective for humans to be able to repeat on and on. And so when you're auditing all these tasks, the ones that are binary, that are yes, no, they are really easy to kind of put in a box and automate. And then there's the one that's probably the widest and the biggest area that causes us issues is this idea of augmentation. Often we think about machines augmenting humans, but we rarely think about humans augmenting machines. And so I want to invite you to think about that. What are the tasks where humans can actually spot check, audit the work of machines, either because you're going to find failure in your systems, but also maybe because you want to add a human component to the automation you might have inside your organization. So we've talked about RAT, we've talked about automation. I want to talk about artificial intelligence, the heart of artificial intelligence. Often we think about artificial intelligence as this thing that's very nebulous, and you hear CIOs and leaders in the market talking about, oh, I need to get me some artificial intelligence. And I actually argue that artificial intelligence, AI, the acronym AI does not stand for artificial intelligence. What artificial intelligence at work and is effective for you needs two attributes, and it's the same acronym. It needs to be applied, and it needs to be invisible. So as you think about the results, the value you can get of AI, ask yourself, have you built something that is applied to a business process, to a problem? And the best value you're going to get from AI is actually when the end users don't see it. Think about systems like Siri. Think about systems that you're using on a daily basis that are actually powered by machine learning and AI. You have no conscious sense that AI is actually powering them, and that's when AI is going to be the most powerful. So when you think about your CIOs, your boss, and so forth saying, go out and find me some AI, think about what is it that they're looking for. And what they're looking for is for a faster way to solve their problem across 3 dimensions. De-risk their business, help them save money, or help them make money. And then I want to talk about the last 2 trends that I see. Now we've talked about RAT, we've talked about innovation, we've talked about artificial intelligence and how to perceive artificial intelligence. There are 2 other things that are more human-like that we need to consider to succeed with data, AI, and analytics. And the first one is, while we might be obsessed about the business outcome of our decisions, what organizations that have won have learned is that they've actually inspected their business decision-making process. And I want to invite you to do that because decision-making is a very personal thing. You know, humans make decisions. And you need to learn about yourself. You need to learn about the politics inside your organization. You need to learn about your bias. You need to learn about your environment. You need to learn about the people that are your partners involved in your decisions so you can devise a better decision-making process. In the end, while the outcome matters a lot, the way you got to the outcome is the best way you're going to be able to repeat great decision-making and great judgment. I have this card that I keep in my wallet that was given to me by Andrew Leikerman. He's a professor at the London Business School. And he told me about 6 questions to ask himself when he's making the right decision. We won't have time to cover them here, but I want to invite you to look him up and take a look at the work that he's done. He talks about the art and science of decision-making. If you're into books like we all are here, because we're in the book event after all, there's 2 more books that I would want to suggest. Ray Dalio's Principles. If you don't know Ray Dalio, he's a hedge fund manager, one of the most successful in the industry. He wrote this book on principles, and he has been able to codify decision-making. It's a great book. It's a thick book, but it's a great book to read. And then Antonio Damasio, who really specializes in what he calls feeling and knowing. And he's got this great quote where he says, we're not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think. We're not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think. So think about this idea of decision-making, supporting not just the outcome, developing the process in the context of the fact that in the end, decision-making is a very personal matter. And so it's important that we learn from each other, which leads me to this last learning, which is the beauty in decision-making, and the beauty of the field that we're in. I believe, I've been in this industry for 25 years or so, and I'm so excited now because 25 years ago, nobody really cared about us. And now they're realizing that we're probably the most important thing that's happening in the technology space. And the beauty in the data, you succeed when you can tell someone something they don't know about themselves. That's the nirvana. When you're able to use these analytics best practices that Prashanth is going to share with you, the data that you've done, the team that you've partnered with, to tell someone something they don't know about themselves. So that's kind of my overview. I want to thank all of you guys. I can't wait to engage with you online and hopefully one day in person again. Connect with me on LinkedIn every Monday morning. Like I said, I do this 5-minute segment on the most important post of the week. I hope to see you there. Feel free to engage, comment, tag me if there's anything you want me to share with the community. The segment is called Analytically Yours. It's also my signature, and it's also a podcast on Spotify. I hope to see you there. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank Prashanth for giving me the opportunity to say a few words in your book launch. Again, congratulations. It's exciting. Back to you.
Thank you, Bruno. Now it's discussion time. If any of you have any questions. Okay, now our third presenter for the today's event is Mr. Gal Cruz. He has joined us just right now. He is the VP of Data Analytics and Monetization at ZF Group, a global automotive supplier. Prior to that, he was the Chief of Analytics for General Motors, Global Connected Consumer Experience Division. He is responsible for all analytical data sets, analytics, and data science required to provide consumers with the best overall experience in the industry, delivering high customer satisfaction, loyalty, and optimizing on spending. During his journey, he has established the information management and analytics function at Ford. He was Ford's global head of data and governance with the responsibility of Ford's next generation analytics infrastructure, the Ford data supply chain, as well as all aspects of enterprise data standards, quality, and governance. Gal is the one who has written the forward for the analytics best practices book for Prashanth. Over to Gal.
Hi, everyone. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. So first, I want to thank Prashanth for two things. One, for giving me the opportunity to write the foreword to his book. And the other is for actually writing the book. And I thought the reason I was interested in this project of Prashanth and Mario, thank you to Mario from Gartner who introduced me to Prashanth. The reason I was interested in this book is because it really focused on things that work in industry. So you heard a little bit about my background. And when you think about, when you think about data and analytics in a company, people tend to think that it's about mathematics and coming up with clever models and clever formulas. But in fact, that's, to tell the truth, that's kind of the easy part. When you look at what it really takes to turn analytics into a business, there is a lot, I would say, of practices that you need to know in order to get projects to be successful. And a lot of these practices are things that are highlighted in the book. So, for example, the need to control data quality. When you think about it, when you're making predictions, when you're making optimization-based recommendations, these are really all going to be only as good as the quality of your underlying data. So if you are in a company, how do you get, and you're responsible for an analytics solution, how do you get control of the quality of your incoming data? That's actually not easy because you don't really control the data. The data that you get comes from other sources. It comes from other people. They generate that data for their own purposes, and then and now you need to consume that and produce value out of it without really controlling the quality. So that's an example of how to something that Prashanth talks about in his book that I think is a good best practice. For example, for people to really know how do you really get through it. The other examples are stakeholder alignment. So, for example, one of the projects that we did at Ford early on was the need to agree on a global data structure that that describes vehicle systems. Okay, so basically, at the time, Ford wanted to globalize its engineering, to globalize its product development. But if you went and talked with an engineer in Europe and an engineer in North America, and you asked them, well, what does a fuel system mean to you? They'd give you a list of parts of the fuel system, but those lists of parts were not identical. There may be like 90% overlapping, but they're not identical. And if you're trying to move from a regional engineering structure where every region develops their entire product to a global structure where, say, Europe develops the fuel system and North America develops the engine, then that 90% overlap is not enough. You need it to be 100% accurate. And how do you actually build that type of alignment between groups of engineers that have been working, you know, separately in separate regions, developing things, you know, their own way? And you know, how do you build that type of alignment? Well, that's a best practice, you know, that Prashanth talks about as well. So I think that, and we can go on. I mentioned in the forward, which maybe some of you have read, a bunch of these best practices that Prashanth talks about that are actually really, really important in industry. So I think that I really want to congratulate Prashanth for this, you know, great inventory of things that people really should be aware of when they get into analytics. And thank you for the opportunity to write the forward, and thanks for inviting me to speak. And I'll just open up for questions. If people have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'm happy to take any questions or thoughts from people.
Thank you guys for your presentation. Now we'll move to if somebody has any questions here, you can come and ask at the podium, or anyone who is having any questions from any of the three speakers, they can type it on the Zoom chat. Anyone here who has any questions for any of the speakers? Okay, so it's time for some refreshments and networking session till 6:15. So please be at your seats by 6:15, and please maintain social distancing when you are networking and wear your face masks at all times. Thank you. Please come back here. Now Prashant will be joining us to share his thoughts on the journey of his analytics book. He will also be sharing the condensed version of the talk that he gave at MIT last month. Over to you, Prashant.
Hi everyone. Once again, welcome to my book launch event. Just a quick test. Are people in Zoom able to hear me well?
Yes, Prashant, you're clear. We are able to hear you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, good. Okay, first of all, thank you very much, and apologies for the little bit of challenges we have on the sound system. I think the whole session is being recorded, but if you find any talk which is of interest, you can we will share the recording with you, and that might help you guys a bit. So before we get into the details of the book, analytics best practices, I know it's been a tough call for many of you to say yes to my meeting invite, given that we are in the middle of this pandemic. I sincerely thank all of you for taking that risk and expressing your support and solidarity for this book launch event. As you might know, I have decided to contribute the royalties of this book, which the sales happened for the first 3 months. And most of you might be knowing my wife Shruti runs a body fitness program called Nacho, and she has decided to contribute the fees she raised from the session she conducted in summer to this book launch event. And we are going to give that money, which is approximately $3,000, to Brown Bagging for Calgary's kids, because both of us believe education and children's nutrition go hand in hand for a good mental development and growth for the children. So we decided to give this to Brown Bagging for Calgary's kids. So as Aman was talking about, this event is sponsored by SAS Institute. In fact, we are able to come to this place just because SAS Institute is a member of Petroleum Club. And Modak Analytics, which is an analytics or a data ops company based in US and India. Riverside Technologies, which is a master data management company headquartered in Houston. AMI, we have Derek here. Incept Data Solutions from Washington, they're into data governance. And Growsoft Technologies, which is a data cleansing company based in Bangalore in India. I sincerely thank Aarti Joshi and Milind Chikukar from Modak Analytics, Michael Robinson and Upen Vanasi from Riverside Technologies, Madhuresh Dimba from Growsoft, Saurabh Arora from Incept Data Solutions, Derek from AMI, and Sandra Macmillan and Dean Malek from SAS Institute for their support and sponsorship. Today, you have seen that we have quite a few accomplished leaders who have joined us virtually to share their thoughts. I sincerely thank Mario Faria, Bruno Aziza, Dal Barkus, who have already spoken. Suresh Chakravarti is going to speak in the next few minutes after I am done with my talk. And also, there are many people who are attending this session from Zoom, not just from Canada, but also from India as well. Some of them have woken up at 4 a.m. to join this session over Zoom. I thank all of them for coming to this event. I also thank my team at DBP Institute, which is Kevin, Aman, Chetan, for all their support and help. Pavna, who is managing the show, she's our chief Zoom officer. She manages all the Zoom access and everything. She is based in Vancouver, and she has been a great help for me, especially in the book writing project. You would believe that we took 20 revisions of the book writing project before we actually sent it to the publisher for the last 7 revisions, total 27 in all. And Pavna used to get up every weekend on Saturday, Sunday at 5 a.m., which is 6 a.m. for me, 5 a.m. for her in Vancouver, and help with the editing. So it is not an easy thing, given that actually you're helping somebody else. It's not your own book per se. But I sincerely thank Pavna for all her help in editing the book, grammar, everything. So if you still find any mistakes in the book, if you have it, so it took almost like 27 revisions of corrections and editing. Finally, I thank my wife, Shruti, who is here for all the support, and my 2 wonderful kids, Pranati and Pratik, who have not come here for all the encouragement and for the support too. Now, coming to the book. Why did I write this book? What motivated me to write it? Simple. The first and foremost is to build a strong data analytics community. So today, most of you might be knowing, as Bruno was talking about, Dal was talking about, Mario, 80% of the analytics projects fail. And one of the reasons being why these projects have been failing is, of course, many reasons. The top reason being the lack of data literacy in the industry. And I thought of writing this book to educate the community about what analytics is all about. And I have a short presentation for you guys as well on my book in the next few minutes. So how can a business enterprise avoid analytics failure and deliver business results? So this book basically is about 10 key best practices that will improve the odds of delivering enterprise data analytics solutions successfully. It is intended for anybody who has an interest in data and analytics. So the 3 differentiating aspects of this book are: number 1, practicality. It offers prescriptive guidance. It's not about theory, it's about prescription. Number 2, it's completeness. So what is completeness? Many people equate data analytics and data science as synonymous. But my definition of analytics is slightly different. I look at analytics as 4 stages in the entire data lifecycle, which is data capture, data integration, of course, data science, and data visualization or monetization. I look at data analytics end to end. So it's not just about data science, which many people think, but it is more than data science. And finally, it's neutral. It is not referring to any vendor technologies. It's not about Google, SAS, or Alfrex, or Power BI, or anything. It's a book, whether you are applying, whether you're using SAP, or whether you're using JD Edwards, or using Power BI, or any technology in your company, this book should work for you. So how did I write this book? Many people keep on asking, hey, Prashant, this is your second book. How did you write this? Actually, book writing is not fun. It takes 27 revisions, and the first revision is good because it's all about gray matter. But after that, it becomes boring and boring. When you come to the 27th edition, it's like very stressful, and it's hats off to founder for this. Yeah. So it took almost 3 years for me to write this book. First thing is what I did was it was all primary research about my experience, my hypothesis, my interaction with all the experts, so on and so forth. Second thing is about secondary research. It's about reviewing materials from Harvard Business Review, McKinsey, all those big companies, big authors, everybody, and seeing what are they talking about. And thirdly is I validated once I had the draft ready, which is probably I think the 10th version number 10. I shared it with about 25 different people. With thought leaders like Randy Bean, who has shared his feedback here. We have a professor from IIT School of Business in Switzerland, Michael Wade, he looked at the book, gave his feedback, and of course people like Mario Faria, Doug Laney, and all those the big names in data and analytics. So 25 odd different people at different levels, right from architect to data analysts to CIOs to thought leaders, everybody looked at this book and gave their feedback. So I have a few copies of the book here. Again, the proceeds for this year will continue to go to charity, given the entire world is in a turmoil. And I don't want or Shruti and we don't want our children to be affected with this. So if you can buy these books and even buy more and give it to your colleagues or friends, the entire money is not coming to me, it goes to charity. You have option number 2. You can also go to Amazon, and if you want to make the world's richest man more richer, you have option number 2. Okay, now let me quickly talk about this presentation and start with. So what's analytics? Does anybody want to take a shot about what analytics is all about? What's your definition of analytics? You know, I also teach analytics at the IU Business School at the University of Calgary. If you don't see, I will point here. Hey. Any takers? What's analytics? Okay, so one of the reasons why we have many definitions of analytics or no definitions, or people are confused what's analytics is all about, is because we have varied definitions given by the technology vendor. Whereas if you look at SAP, where I worked before, and we have Gaurav also from SAP, they sell almost like 250 different products. So their definition of analytics should encompass everything they sell, right from ERP to CRM to BI to GRC to Lumira, whatever they have in their portfolio, they try to sell and define analytics as an overarching thing that is the product suite they are actually selling. If you look at SAS, who is one of the sponsors for this event, their definition of analytics is mainly on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on. If you look at Tableau, their definition of analytics is mostly about data visualization and dashboarding. So bottom line is the technology vendors define their definition of analytics based on the products and services they're actually selling. But one thing they all agree, whether it's SAP, SAS, or Microsoft, Google, whoever it is, it all involves some amount of data processing. So my definition of analytics is slightly different. As I said before, it's it's neutral. It doesn't refer to any technology vendors or anyone. So my definition of analytics is using data to answer your business questions to get insights for decision making. So if there is no data, no questions, stop your project right now and see what business questions you are asking. And it's number 2, do you have the data to answer those questions? So that's a fundamental step you want to do before you start embarking on any technological solutions. So having said this, there are 3 major types of analytics. One is descriptive. Number 2, predictive. The third one is prescriptive. While teaching or while talking here, it makes sense to categorize analytics into these 3 types. But in reality, it's actually a continuum. It is a conversation. It is a conversation between 2 people or 2 entities which is happening and how they work together. Let's take a simple example. We'll take 2 people here. We'll take Brad and we'll take Konak. So let's assume that Konak reports to Brad. So Brad goes and Konak is his data analyst or data scientist, whatever you can call it. So Brad goes to Konak and says, hey Konak, how much money did you make in 2018? So Konak says, hey Brad, that's part of descriptive analytics. So let me go to my ERP system or CRM system, pull all the data, and I'll tell you what the number is. After a few minutes, he goes to Brad and he says, Brad, in 2018, we made 20 million. Good. Brad right now is 2020. So he's concerned about what's his next target going to be. So he's going to ask Konak, can you tell me how much money my business unit will make in 2022? So Konak says, hey Brad, for that I need to do some regression work. So let me go back run some regression models, and come back to you. So after a few minutes, he goes back to Brad and he says, hey, Brad, in 2022, we are going to make 25 million. Brad says, good, thanks, Konark, but I have a challenge. My boss, Caroline, says that in 2022, my target is not 25 million, she wants 30 million. So tell me, what are the factors that will help me achieve 30 million? So Konark says, good question, Brad. For that, I need to run some optimization model. I need to do some prescriptive analytics for you to work on the data and come with the recommendation of how much, what are the variables or what are the factors which will help you to make this 25 or 30 million in 2022. So if you look at the conversation that's happening between Brad and Konark, it's basically a conversation. It is a continuum. It is not like a siloed conversation between descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. It's a continuum. It's happening like a conversation between those people. So one of the things in many places I have seen, people try to categorize their analytics team into basic analytics team and advanced analytics team. So there is nothing like basic or advanced. It's all about business needs. It's all about helping solve business problems. There is no glamour associated with advanced and nothing routine or monotonous associated with descriptive. It's all about helping business get better insights so that they can solve their business problem. That's what it's all about. It's about a continuum. It all helps to talk and teach and talk about 3 types of analytics, but the reality is they're all together. They all go hand in hand. So explaining this analytics in detail, which is explained in my book as well, I use analytics as within those 3 types of analytics, which can be further broken down into exploratory, which is about the details of the data, associative, which is about relationship, and the last one is about inferential, which is taking the sample data and explaining and extrapolating into the population. Just like when you cook a pot of rice, you don't want to check whether every grain of rice is cooked. You just take the 20 grains of rice which are at the top and check whether it's good, and then if the rice is cooked well, you are ready for dinner. This is what inferential analytics is all about. Most of the time, you can do a lot of insights with inferential analytics as well. Predictive analytics can be broken down into 2 major buckets. Analyst-driven, like what Konark is doing for Brad. He runs regression model as an analyst and gives us insights. But if there is tons and tons of data, some of the work which Konark can be done can be automated through machine learning algorithms, which can be further broken down into supervised, where you know how the outcome is going to be, and you train your models to reach that outcome, or unsupervised, where you are pure artificial intelligence, where you allow the data itself to keep learning. And lastly, about optimization, which is about exact and heuristic. So these are the 3 major types of optimization techniques people are talking about. So just a quick question. In the industry, of the 3 types, which do you think is very prominent? Is it descriptive, predictive, or prescriptive? Gaurav says predictive. Yeah. So right now there is a lot of noise, a lot of interest in predictive. But historically, 80 to 85% of analytics is mainly on descriptive. Companies want to know what happened in the previous quarter, what happened in the past year, and so on. But Gaurav also has a point about predictive. Why? The senior management looks at predictive analytics because they have to prepare the organization for the future. That is where predictive analytics and prescriptive, which is optimization, comes into the picture. Unfortunately, that's just about 5 to 10% of the work that's happening in analytics. There is a huge value. Given that we are in an oil town, if you apply oil and research by Accenture, Deloitte, and all those things, and have synthesized it, it says that applying data and analytics in the oil and gas industry will improve the ROCE by up to 10% for the industry. This is a huge. Imagine that the return on capital investment of 10% for Synovus or Suncor is going to be millions and millions of dollars of savings if they're going to leverage data and analytics. That's a different topic altogether. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so coming to the book. So these are the 10 practices which I shared about. Mario said a few things, Gal said a few things about stakeholder analysis and everything. But in the interest of time, I don't want to go through all the 10. I will talk about the 4th aspect, given that analytics is mainly data-centric. How do you get data? In almost all the projects I have worked, there have been 2 questions. Okay, let's go to that thing. Okay, Data quality is all about balancing cost and value. So I have a small test for all of you. In almost every project I do, people say either there is no data, or even if the data is there, it's not a good quality data. So people are always concerned about good quality data to do their further analytics. But I believe achieving data quality is balancing cost and value. So I have a small exercise for all of you. I'm going to peg Vivek for this exercise. Vivek, can you guess what is this? Person. Okay. Vivek says it's a picture of a person. What is this picture, Vivek? Vivek says it's a picture of a dog. How confident are you that it's a picture of a dog? Initially you said it's a picture of a person. Now you said it's a dog. What's the level of confidence? 90? Okay. What is this? And what's the level of confidence? 97. So you went from 0 to 95 to 90 to 97. This one is 100, right? But if you look, let's take a metric called storage. How much memory, how much storage is required to generate this picture? So if you look at the amount of information or the storage that is required for each of this picture, it's a balance between cost and quality. To go to the fourth level, absolute level of quality, go from 97% to 100%, you have to increase the cost. The measure of cost here is storage, 9 times, just for 3% improvement in accuracy. But most of the time, you are good enough with just number 2 or number 3, with 90 or 97% accuracy. Let's go with 97. 97% accuracy, you can get your lot of business work done. There is a very few use cases which require this 100% level of accuracy. So this is one thing which many analytics projects are challenged. They wait for the perfect state, and this perfect state in the business never exists. The reason being, the business itself is an evolving entity. It's changing all the time. The target is moving all the time. So when you are changing the target all the time, you can't expect the data quality to be constant. It changes. So if you have a target today, you work on the target, after 3 months, something else has changed. Your regulations have changed, your operation skills have changed, the person has quit the company, whatever it is. So the bottom line is that, as I say, perfection is the opposite of progression. That very much applies to analytics projects. You need to strike a balance between, you want 4, of course you will get 4, but that state doesn't exist at all. And even if it exists, you have to pay 10 times the more cost as what you would pay for as for state number 3. Okay. So how do we slow state? Derek has a question. One thing, there is a joke, Derek, about your question. Prediction is always wrong. It all depends on how far are you from the right answer. So there is, if people can predict with absolute certainty, so I think the predictive analytics, they would be here with us, probably they would be in vacationing or somewhere. But there is always a degree of uncertainty when it comes to predictive analytics. So how do we get data when there is no data at all, or even if you have data, when there is no quality data? As I said before, it's all about progress. It's not about perfection. So I have 4 strategies. The objective of this presentation is when you go to work tomorrow, and somebody says, I went for Prashanth's book launch. What did you learn from that? It's not just about I saw him taking pictures. You put in these 4 techniques, so that tomorrow you go to work being more smarter. So these are my 4 techniques for you. Okay, and if you read all the 10 my whole book, you'll get a lot more techniques. Okay, first thing is sampling. So Sampling is not just about when the rice is going and picking the 25 grains of rice and say we are done. So it's a combination of three major things. One thing is sample size or count, how many we want to need. Next, number two, it's the representation of the population. And the last one, it has to be a randomness. It has to be randomly selected. So these three factors are needed when you want to pick the number of items which you want to do for your sample. For instance, I worked in GE before I moved to Calgary. In GE, we had procurement from some cases, different systems happening in the company. So it's very difficult to do analytics for a global company where procurement is managed in 17 different systems. So how do we get data from all the 17 systems and do some trend analytics quickly so that the results are there quickly for the insights are there quickly for the business. So it's very difficult to take all this population data and do your analytics. So in that case, something was a technique which we applied when we did analytics on spend in GE. So this is a simple example where I said in 1 year, we had about 800,000 purchase orders. So one option is we integrate the data from 800,000 purchase orders, clean it, sanitize it, and do analytics. Or else the plan B is to look at sampling. Look at 384 purchase orders and do analytics based on that, provided it represents the population one and it is randomly selected. So I'm coming to sampling. Most of you would have known about the story when Nancy won the elections against Bill Smith. The reason why the media predicted Bill Smith is going to work is because of the poor sampling data they selected. And ultimately, when Nancy won, the mainstream media apologized for the lack of good sampling they have done. Number two is about feature engineering. What is feature engineering? Its bottom line is how do you get data when there is no data? So it's using your common sense, it's using the existing data which you have and creating more data sets. Oh, Prashant, this looks cool. How do I create data when there's no data at all? How do I do that? So this is a simple example. Let's assume the original data set which you have on the quantities which is produced by different claims. So these are some items which I have, the quantities produced and product ID. I can map the product ID to the product category. If I look at the first row, for example, the number starting at 579, I can click at the product ID and the product description. I can say this belongs to a category called bearing. Looking at the timestamp, I can associate that with shift, the week date, and the week hour. So I create additional attributes based on the product ID and the timestamp. And with this, initially I have 3 attributes to do my analytics. Now I have 3 plus 4, which is 7 attributes to do my analytics. So do I do this manually? Of course, you can do it manually like what I have done, but you have sophisticated machine learning tools to churn out this kind of attributes. So when there is no data, you can get some new data. The third one is getting data externally. If you don't have data in your company, go get externally. Like my wife Shruti works for a bank, and she gets a lot of her data from GLJ, which gives all the data related to the oil wells and everything. Like GLJ, there are many other companies too. Giri, who is from IHS, they're a data product company. They sell a lot of data products as well. So we have a lot of companies or organizations which are selling data as well. For one of the places is also open data. The Canadian government has made a lot of data which is open. So if you want to know about, for example, a simple thing, given that most of the people are in the oil industry, the pipeline spills that have happened from say 2010 onwards, you can go to open data and get all the pipeline spills, the volume leak, where it happened, platform, and all the coordinates from open data. So there is a lot of data which is available as well. You can also get data from Google, Microsoft, Kaggle, GitHub, all those places and integrate data to their existing data. You can join and combine, which is basically a kind of a technical thing to do. And then you can cleanse the data so that your data is ready for analytics. So when you don't have data internally, you can supplement the data externally. The retail industry is known for that. For example, the demographic data. No company would have got accurate data as a demographic data internally. They have to always get it out from external parties. So they get the demographic data. The oil industry, for example, the crude pricing data, it's always brought from the commodity players such as Bloomberg. So getting data externally and integrating it to your internal data is a very common practice which has been done. Last one is synthetic data. So if you don't have data real data, create one. How do you create data? How do you create artificial data? Make sure that it is aligning with the statistical properties of the data, but still not real. What is the value? The value is you can bypass the security and the privacy aspect and still work on developing solid analytical models or machine learning models and train them using the synthetic data so that this model is ready for deriving insights. So it's basically, you must be knowing that if you want insights, you need models, you need data. So you need to look at multiple ways of getting data so that you can put it into your models and derive insights. So 4 major things when you talk about getting data strategically, which is the 4th business practice. I'm not saying that these are the only 4, there might be many more, but these are the 4 which I think companies can adopt and reduce the cost of data management when it comes to analytics. 80% of the cost in analytics project is on one element. Can you guess what is that? Absolutely. It's about data acquisition. So now I'm giving you a recipe, a workaround on how to minimize. I'm not saying that these 4 strategies will bring it down to 0, but it will certainly reduce from 80%, it could be 60%, 50%, 40%, but certainly it will come down from 80% or your current level of cost. So basically, companies have to use how to manage their resources. Many companies have got tons and tons of data. It's not about the data which is there per se. Most of the data in the companies is sitting as dark data. Dark data, which is unused data, is about 90% in many companies. And many people say, oh, the cost of storage is so low, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Cost of storage is low, but there's other risk as well. It's just like the junk in your house. So when you keep the data in your house, there are many things that are going to happen. You are attracting cyber criminals, and when they come to your system, they don't look at good data or bad data. They take every data which they can let them access. Data processing, because of its bad data and good data, data processing doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It looks at all the data, and data processing increases the carbon footprint. So today, data centers are one of the biggest polluters in the world. People think that it is transportation, oil and gas, but data centers are also contributing a hell a lot when it comes to carbon footprint. And the rate at which things are happening because of post-COVID, by 2025, they say that 7% of the carbon that's going to be emitted in the world is by the data centers. And probably that's the reason why you might have seen Google, Microsoft, the big companies which are having tons and tons of data centers, they're all going towards renewable energy. That's the reason, because they want to reduce their footprint. So don't think that storage is cheap and that's why you don't care about dark data. There is repercussions as well. And Equifax, when their system was hacked, they spent $1.4 billion in fixing their system. Why? Because they had lots of data. And that data was the one which made it attractive for the cyber criminals to come. So it's when you have lots of data, data can be an asset, but it can become a liability very, very quickly. Cambridge Analytica is a classic case. They came to limelight because of data, but it was data which actually put them down. And within a few weeks of that exposure, they closed their company down. So 3 key takeaways. No questions, no data means no analytics, no insights. Look at analytics as a continuum and not as separate building blocks. No, not as descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. They are all together. They all go hand in hand. And finally, perfection is the opposite of progression. Keep moving. Don't stop. Don't wait for the perfect state to happen in analytics. It doesn't exist because the perfect business also doesn't exist. The perfection doesn't exist in many cases. Probably one except in case. Okay, so for those of you who want a summarized version of my book, I gave a talk in MIT where Mario was there, and so MIT Sloan Management Review published my article, so you can Google it and you can download it as well. So that's it from me. So one of the leaders who has influenced me a lot, not directly, indirectly, is GE, one of my former employees. And it's the best place I have worked. I worked in many places like SAP, Shell, and other companies, but no place like GE, at least when Jack Welch was there in 2004-5. So this is what I said. It's not how do you transform your insights into your competitive advantage is what makes, it's not just about deriving insights per se. You should make sure that the insights which are derived are actually consumable. I was working for a retail company, and we did the whole analytics for them based on a single KPI or velocity grouping. In simple words, a velocity grouping is looking at your inventory and classifying every skills into A class, B class, C class, D class. And the objective is to reduce the D class items, remove that from the shelf. And we did a report for 12 weeks, and we said in every 12 weeks, these 10 skills are coming consistently. So can we go and stop procuring these items? Because nobody is buying it. Why do you want to store it? There's a great insight, but ultimately we have signed a multi-year contract with this vendor to supply those goods for us. So it's very difficult. The cost of breaking that contract is much higher than the cost of keeping it in our shelves. So the point is, you might have the great insights in the world, but if you're not able to translate them into actions, in this case, inventory reduction, there is very little you can go from here. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for your time. So I'm pretty active in LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place where I get my work. So please connect me in LinkedIn, and this is my email ID as well. And once again, thank you very much for coming, and looking forward to hear from you soon. And so now we have an interesting speaker who's going to come to the stage from Zoom again, Suresh Chakravarti. The reason why I'm talking about Suresh is two major things. He's one of the most respected persons in the industry. He is the former CIO of BNY Mellon. Number one, he's also an advisor to our company. Next, number two, interesting trivia. He got this book before I got it. So he bought this book, and then I came to know about him, and he's going to share his experience about this book. And over to you, Suresh.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I hope, Pavna, can you hear me? Thank you. Appreciate your support. It's an honor to be part of this great day, great event with a great couple, Prashanth and Shruti. I was in March 2020. I was, part of a large bank, as Prashanth just mentioned, and typically we finish our budget for the year, and after which we sort of. Any issue? I'm sorry, I'm hearing some.
Pavna, can you just point out Suresh that he has to wait?
Sorry. Yes. Aman, am I audible? Am I audible, Aman? I think there's an issue. Sorry, Suresh. Just the same thing happened.
No worries. I can hear you, Pavna.
Yes, I think it's the speakers in the place, maybe.
Okay, just like when we started off and we couldn't hear Mario.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the same problem is repeating now. Maybe they're fixing it. Aman, am I audible?
Check 1, 2. This is Suresh. Can you hear me? Hi, check 1, 2. Check.
I'll quickly call.
Can you check the voice?
Yes, Aman, am I audible? I can hear you, but you can you hear me, Aman? Prashanth? Anyone?
Check 1, 2.
Mic check.
Pavna, can you check the voice?
Yes, Aman. Am I audible now? Are we audible now?
Can you try? Anna, can you unmute yourself?
Arvind, can you just check the voice here on Zoom?
Yes, yes, Aman. Am I loud enough now?
Yeah, Prashant.
Can you talk on the phone itself? I'll put it on the speaker. You can talk from there. Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah. Suresh?
Hi, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I hope I'm coming through audible. It's an honor for me to be present one of this great day, and especially for a great couple, Prashanth and Shruti. It was in March of this year when, for very selfish reasons, I was searching for some data, some book on how do I get on the data analytics roadmap. Typically in the last time that I was part of then, we finished our budget cycle, and around late February, March, and then say, okay, let's get on with the project for the rest of the year. And towards that, I spoke to the business head, and because we need to improve some of our operating processes. So, that's where I said, okay, I have to educate myself, but even though, again, I come from a bank, we have a lot of data, reference data, master data, that's actually, whatever data you want. We have it exactly, and all in a fair sense. But within the bank, we pay a lot of attention to the data, because one, again, it's financial data. It's got assets attached to it. Anything we don't do well with the data could reflect right away, which could cause the reputational damage as well as financial damage. So, data is not something that is where we are indifferent. We've always been very, very focused. However, from all that Prashanth said as well, there was only parts of the data that we were focusing on. And so it's not the end-to-end journey that we needed to go forward, which is what I was looking to again and put myself on what that journey meant. I take this country as a student, and all of the participants will know that when you apply to a university, and then you want to work under a doctor like Dr.Prashanth Southekal, you have to get recommendation letters, right? You folks agree? Okay, I take it as a yes. So good. I was so lucky. Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, Suresh, can you unmute yourself on the computer, and you
Go ahead.
may you may mute your speaker. You can change your speaker volume to 0, and you can unmute. Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes. Now I think now you're audible on Zoom. On Zoom, your voice was very less audible.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's good on Zoom now.
So they can also hear me? I can hang up the phone call?
Yes, yes, on the phone call.
Check 1 to check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How about on that side? On Prashanth's side or Raman's side? Just a moment. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, Prashanth is calling back. Hi, Prashanth.
Suresh, your line got disconnected.
Okay, you want me to cut you on the phone?
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Okay. Again, apologies. Listen, I work in technology and I'll take the blame for some of the problems that we see, but I think just like in data analytics, it's all about recovery. So we recover and complete this. But, other say, number one, it's business-driven. Number two, it's the playbook. And the reason it's being written the way it's written, it's also coming from not somebody who's a theorist, but a purely practitioner. One who for years has gone through this journey and then has that fire in him to say, well, if I'm not going to put this practices in a particular order, which is important, and then being able to demonstrate by each best practice what it can come, what will be the outcome, what will be the insight, and how do we go forward. One of the things that Prashanth very well laid out right away in the fifth chapter, and this is also, I'm sure all of us will agree, we can learn about things as to what it's not as against what it is. And Prashanth clearly says, data analytics is a compass, not a GPS. And you know, that's the term and the sentence I've used many times. So much of my context, you know, once I read it and understood it, and you know, I've used it in forums, in groups, and people get it right away. And then why does he say that? Because then he continues to go forward and say that it depends on data quality. It depends on amount of data that you have to acquire. It depends on where you're getting the data from. It depends on how you classify it. All of the things that one can write in a book, typically again, when you have a subject with best practices, typically the author will only deal with the positive things. Well, what's good about this book is also that Prashanth does focus on what is the checklist for bad analytics. And he does give us 7 areas where we could potentially go into a bad analytics. Also, it's not just about giving theory. He has backed it up with a clear use case, where he has applied the playbook and has shown the benefit that is still, you know, again, it's only a journey that we have started. And it's all, it has to be very clear to us. Anything that we start with data, whether we are doing data management, data engineering, data science, or visualization, it's got to be a journey. Because the challenges as we take the road could be different. What we experience, like we all are experiencing as of February and early March, and how the world has changed since then, those sort of challenges can easily come up, even in our data journey. And in all of that regard, you know, visualization and it's a very high position in how we, as a practitioner, has laid it out, and also cautions us to read it. Being in financial services, for nearly all of my career, I can only remark in closing that there's a great deal of work yet to be done. And what Prashanth has laid out in this book is a roadmap to get onto that and then address each challenge as they crop up. I'm positive, and I think I did get some clues, even though we were facing some technical issues. I think Mario gave me some clues on how to get on the cover of Prashanth's textbook. With that, again, it's my honor. Congratulations. I continue to be a student, but also, as Prashanth will also say, I look forward to learning from each other in the days ahead. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay. Thanks, Suresh. Thanks for the nice presentation and nice insights and perspectives. So we are almost coming to the end of this event, and so as most of you might be knowing, we have collected almost like $3,000, and Shruti and I would like to give this money to Brown Valley for Calgary's kids. And we have Tanya Koszulski from BB4CK who is here. But one thing I just want to say is I moved from India to Calgary in 2009, and I met many people as part of my acclimatization to this new country. But in 2016, I met Derek for a project here in Calgary. And ever since I met him, he's one of the person I always look up to. At work or even in business, there's always many times you are always in a kind of confusion, I would say. You are always wondering, should I do this or should I do that? So I just close my eyes and I just think, what would Derek do if he were in my position? So I always look up to Derek for his guidance, for his support, and for everything. So I want Derek, who is my mentor, my boss, whatever it is, my friend, to hand over this check of $3,000 to Tanya. And Tanya will also say a few words how this amount would matter to the BB4CK.
Thank you so much. It's great. I just want to give a shout out to what's going on here this evening, which congratulations on the launch and all the work you've done. So it's been quite an impact in this industry. And I'm just going to tell you one quick story about the impact of what money like this will help. So the data on a story on one child in Calgary that we've heard about is she was in school. We'll call her Lisa. She was eating her apple at lunchtime, and she stopped about halfway through her apple, and she wrapped it up and she left it to the side. And her teacher said to her, Lisa, well, what are you doing with the rest of the apple? Like, you know, don't waste food. There's hungry kids in the world. All these things that we all say at times. And she said to her teacher, she said, I'm not wasting it. This is all I have to eat for today and for tomorrow. And we know that that is a very harsh reality for families struggling in our city. So we too had to adapt and figure out all that was happening in our world after school is our contact point for about 5,000 kids in Calgary every day that go hungry. And so we had to innovate and create pretty quickly in March to how to reach those kids in their homes and still have a lot of different ways that we can connect with these kids. We ended the school year last year reaching out to families in their home with about 6,300 kids every day that would otherwise go hungry, little kids like Lisa in our city. So as an independently funded organization, we rely on generosity of Calgarians and people in our community to sustain us so that we can be an organization that is here to meet the needs of hungry kids in our city. Because we know when you're fed, you can learn, you can do your math, do your writing, your reading, play, build self-esteem, be the best that you can be. And so this is the impact that that money like this has. It's making sure that kids like Lisa have the opportunity to be their best to grow up, and maybe she'll be reading your book one day. So thank you so much for all this and for choosing to Brown Bag and to receive the donation. We really appreciate it.
Okay, finally, thank you once again for coming to this event. It's been a fantastic event. Honestly, Kevin and I, who leads the marketing function at DVP, we were talking and we were thinking how many people might turn up. Honestly, we are impressed with this, very impressed with this number. We were told by the Petroleum Club that they can only accommodate 50 people. I didn't send 50 invites. I want to be below that. I sent you 42, and I think we are about 35 plus. So thank you very much for coming to this event. And special thanks to all the sponsors, including Derek, SAS, Riverside, Modak Analytics, Insight Data Solutions, Microsoft for supporting this event. In fact, because of them, it's only because of their support that this event was possible, or else it would have been very difficult. including getting this Place XR because it's through SaaS